Have you ever sat by the phone, waiting for a call that never came? Or looked at old photo albums, wondering when you'll next get to see your kids or grandkids again? Maybe you've started to feel like a visitor in your own family, like the world around you is moving forward, while you're quietly being left behind. If any of this sounds familiar, I want you to know something right from the start: you're not alone. And more importantly, this isn't the end of your story. I've spent a lot of time listening to people just like you, mothers, fathers, grandparents, who've done everything they could for their families. You've raised children, sacrificed, worried, loved deeply, and now? It feels like the connection is fading. The calls are shorter, the visits are rare, and sometimes, the silence is just too much. It hurts, doesn't it? That deep kind of quiet that nobody talks about. That's why in this video, we're going to talk about 5 phrases that might be hurting your relationship with your adult children, without you even realizing it. But don't worry. This isn't about blame or shame. This is about healing. It's about understanding, growing, and reconnecting. For every phrase we talk about, I'll also show you what to say instead, something that brings your family closer, not pushes them away. Now, before we dive in, I'd love to know, where are you tuning in from? Comment below and share your city. I always enjoy hearing from you. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more tips like these. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming up next. Toxic phrase number 1, after everything I've done for you. Now I want you to take a moment and really think about that phrase. After everything I've done for you, it usually comes from a place of pain. Maybe you've said it after your child forgot your birthday, skipped a visit, or didn't call you back. You're not trying to hurt them, you're trying to make them understand how much you've sacrificed, how much you still care. And honestly, it's understandable. Raising children isn't easy. You've likely given up sleep, money, dreams, even your own well-being to give them a better life. Of course that deserves recognition. But here's the hard truth: when you say those words, it doesn't sound like love to them. It sounds like a guilt trip. It sounds like you're keeping score. And your children? They hear that and feel like they're being told they owe you something. It shifts the relationship from love to obligation. And nobody wants to feel obligated to call, or visit, or spend time with someone just to avoid guilt. That's not the kind of connection you want anyway, right? You want them to call because they want to, not because they feel they have to. I remember speaking with a gentleman named Gregory. He had helped his son through college, supported him when he was starting a family, and was always there when needed. But over time, his son started pulling away. One day over dinner, Gregory said, "After everything I've done for you, the least you could do is call me once a week." And that's when it happened. His son finally told him how that phrase made him feel. He felt like no matter what he did, it would never be enough. Like love had turned into a debt he could never repay. It was a painful moment, but also a turning point. With a little guidance, Gregory learned to express what he was really feeling. And here's what made the difference. Instead of saying, "After all I've done," he started saying, "I really miss hearing your voice. I'd love to talk more often. Would a Sunday call work for you?" That one change shifted everything. His son didn't feel guilty, he felt wanted. And he started calling every week without fail. So here's the better way: tell your children what you need, not what they owe. Say, "I miss our connection." Say, "It means so much to me when we talk." This opens the door, instead of closing it with resentment. Toxic phrase number 2, your spouse is turning you against me. Now, I want you to think carefully here. Have you ever said this? Or maybe hinted at it? Maybe you didn't say the words exactly, but it came out as, "You never acted like this before you got married," or, "I bet she doesn't want you spending time with me." Sometimes it even slips out in the form of a joke or aside during a visit. The reason this phrase is so dangerous is because it doesn't just criticize your child's partner, it questions your child's judgment. And here's the thing, when you say this, you're not just making them choose between two people. You're making them choose between two kinds of loyalty, one to their partner, and one to you. And that's a terrible position for anyone to be in. Let me tell you about Barbara. She's 68, lives in Seattle, and has a grown son who she's always been close to. But after he got married, she felt the shift. The phone calls slowed down. The visits were fewer. And in her heart, Barbara believed it was her daughter-in-law's doing. So, she started saying things like, "I know Sarah doesn't like me," or, "You never used to cancel plans until she came along." At first, her son brushed it off. But over time, those comments built up. Until one day, at a family dinner, Barbara publicly said, "Well, it's no surprise you're pulling away. She's been turning you against me for years." That night, her son sent her a message saying they needed some time apart. That time apart lasted a year and a half. She missed holidays, birthdays, even the birth of her first grandchild. Barbara didn't mean to cause that kind of damage. She was speaking from a place of hurt. But it took a long time, and a lot of honest reflection, for her to realize that she hadn't just insulted her daughter-in-law. She had made her son feel like he couldn't have both a wife and a mother. And in that impossible choice, he protected the family he was building. Now here's what Barbara learned, and what I want to share with you. If you want to stay close to your adult children, you need to support the life they've chosen, not fight against it. That includes their partner. When you respect their marriage, you're not losing a child, you're gaining another member of the family. So instead of saying, "Your spouse is turning you against me," try something like this: "I care about both of you, and I want to be someone who supports your life together. Can we find some ways to connect that work for everyone?" That sentence says so much. It says you're here, not as a rival, but as a loving parent who understands that your child is no longer just your child. They're also someone's partner, maybe someone's parent, someone balancing a whole new world of responsibility. Remember, your child still loves you. But love looks different in adulthood. It's quieter. It's shared. And when you show up with support, not suspicion, you're far more likely to be welcomed in with open arms. Toxic phrase number 3, in my day, we did things differently. Now, I know what you're thinking. What's wrong with sharing how things used to be? You're proud of the life you've lived, the lessons you've learned. And there's so much wisdom wrapped up in your experiences. But here's where this phrase can quietly backfire, when it's used as a way to compare instead of connect. You see, when you start a sentence with, "in my day," your children might already be bracing themselves for a critique. It might feel to them like you're saying, "You're doing it wrong," even if that's not what you meant. Especially when it comes to things like parenting, career choices, or how they handle stress in today's world. Take Timothy, for example. He's a 74-year-old grandfather from Nashville. His daughter had just had her second child, and like any excited grandfather, Timothy wanted to help. So he started giving advice, unasked. Things like, "In my day, we didn't have all these fancy parenting books," or, "In my day, kids respected their parents without all this explaining." He meant well. He thought he was sharing tips. But what his daughter heard was something different. She felt judged. She felt like her father didn't trust her instincts or understand the pressures she was facing in today's world. Every conversation started to feel like a comparison between the past and the present, and not in a good way. Eventually, she told him how it made her feel. And it was hard for Timothy to hear. He had to realize that even though he was trying to help, his tone was making his daughter feel like she was constantly being corrected. That's when he made a small but powerful change. Instead of starting with, "In my day," he began asking questions like, "How are you handling bedtime these days?" Or, "Would it be helpful if I shared what worked for me when you were little?" That shift, from telling to asking, changed everything. His daughter started opening up more. And when she did ask for his advice, it wasn't because she felt pressured, it was because she felt respected. So here's the takeaway: share your experience, but only after showing respect for theirs. Instead of starting with how it used to be, show interest in how it is for them right now. Ask, what's it like raising kids today, or how's work going for you lately? You'll learn more about their world, and you'll also earn their trust. And when it's your turn to share, frame your stories in a way that invites conversation, not comparison. Say, when you were little, we tried something that worked pretty well, want to hear about it? That's an invitation, not a lecture. Remember, your wisdom is valuable, but it lands better when it comes with curiosity and care. When your adult children feel heard, they'll be much more willing to hear you. Toxic phrase number 4, you never visit, or you never call me. Now, let's be honest. If you've ever said this, it probably came from a place of sadness. You miss your children. You want to feel remembered, valued, included. Maybe you just sat through another holiday without hearing from them. Or maybe they said they'd call and didn't. Saying, you never call me, feels like a way to let them know you're hurting. But here's the thing, phrases like this aren't just sad, they're absolute. And absolutes shut people down. When your children hear, you never call, even if they called last week, they feel like it wasn't good enough. Like nothing they do will ever meet your expectations. And over time, that can lead to guilt, or even avoidance. Let me tell you about Evelyn. She's a 70-year-old widow from Chicago. She loves her daughter dearly but started noticing that their conversations felt shorter and less frequent. Every time they talked, Evelyn would say things like, "It's been forever," or, "You never call unless I remind you." At first, her daughter tried to reassure her, "Mom, we just talked on Tuesday." But after a while, those conversations became stressful. Her daughter started calling less often, not because she didn't love her mom, but because the guilt and pressure made it feel like a chore. That's when Evelyn's friend suggested something simple: keep a journal of every interaction with her daughter. Every call, text, photo sent. What Evelyn found surprised her: her daughter was in touch more than she realized. The problem wasn't the amount of contact, it was her expectation of what it should look like. With that awareness, Evelyn changed her approach. She stopped focusing on what was missing and started focusing on what was happening. She'd say things like, "I really enjoyed our call on Tuesday," or, "Thanks for sending those photos, they made my day." Those simple acknowledgments created a shift. Her daughter felt appreciated instead of scolded. And slowly, their bond began to feel lighter, more like a choice than an obligation. So what's the better way? If you're feeling lonely, say so, but don't accuse. Try something like, "I always look forward to hearing from you. Is there a time that works best for us to catch up?" Or, "I've been missing our chats, would love to hear what's going on in your world." That communicates your needs clearly, without making your children feel like they've failed. And believe me, when your children feel welcomed instead of blamed, they'll want to reach out more often, not because they feel guilty, but because they feel loved. Toxic phrase number 5, you'll regret it when I'm gone. Now let me say this gently, because I know this comes from a place of pain. When you say something like, "You'll regret it when I'm gone," what you're really saying is, "I feel invisible. I feel like I don't matter anymore." You're trying to say, "Please see me, before it's too late." And those feelings? They're real. They're valid. Aging can be incredibly lonely. Your world starts to shrink. People move away, schedules get tighter, and suddenly, you're not in the center of your children's lives the way you once were. That shift is painful, and sometimes terrifying. It's human to want reassurance that your life and your presence still mean something to the people you love most. But here's the hard truth: when you use mortality as a way to get attention or guilt your children into connecting with you, it doesn't build closeness. It builds fear and resentment. Let me tell you about Robert. He's a 78-year-old grandfather from Denver. Whenever his children couldn't make it to a family dinner or didn't take his advice, he'd say things like, "Well, when I'm dead, you'll wish you had listened," or, "Don't come crying when it's too late." At first, his kids would try to comfort him. But over time, those words wore them down. What should have been moments of love started feeling like emotional blackmail. Eventually, his children began distancing themselves, not because they didn't love him, but because the conversations left them feeling anxious, sad, and helpless. It wasn't until Robert's oldest son sat him down and said, "Dad, you're not gone yet. We want to make memories with you, but we can't do that if every time we talk, we're made to feel guilty for living our lives." That conversation changed everything. Robert realized he wasn't expressing a need for connection, he was expressing fear. The fear of being forgotten. The fear of not mattering. Once he understood that, he made a conscious change. Instead of warning his kids about future regret, he started saying things like, "Spending time together means the world to me. I hope we can make some more good memories soon." He focused on the now, on appreciation instead of fear. And you know what happened? His children began calling more, visiting more. Not because they felt bad, but because they felt welcome. So if this phrase has ever crossed your lips, take a moment to pause. Ask yourself, what is it I really want to say? Maybe it's, "I miss you." Or, "I still have so much love to give." Or maybe it's just, "I want to feel like I matter in your life." Those are the words that build bridges. You are still here. You are still important. And there is still time to create beautiful moments together. But it starts with letting go of guilt, and embracing the kind of honest, open communication that brings families back to each other. You've made it this far, and I want to say something important. I'm proud of you. Because it takes courage to look at your own words, your own patterns, and ask, could I be doing something differently? That's not easy, especially after a lifetime of giving your best to the people you love. The 5 phrases we talked about today aren't just about words. They're about emotions that sit underneath the surface: loneliness, hurt, fear of being forgotten. Those are real, and they deserve to be heard. But when we express them with guilt or blame, the message gets lost. Instead of building connection, it creates distance. Before we go, I want to ask you something. From one heart to another, did any of these phrases hit close to home for you? Maybe something you've said without realizing how it landed? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. You're not alone in this. Your story might be exactly what another parent needs to hear today. And if this message helped you, please consider sharing it with a friend or sibling who might be going through the same thing. You never know, one small shift in words could save a precious family bond. Thank you for spending this time with me. I truly believe the best chapters in your family story are still ahead. Keep showing up, keep speaking from the heart, and remember, it's never too late to reconnect.